Absolute power. Yeah. Egypt's warrior pharaohs part two. Yeah, we're gonna get in on this. Absolute power. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt wielded significant influence not only within their kingdom but also beyond the borders, beyond its borders throughout much of its history. Egypt was known as the wealthiest, most powerful, and culturally sophisticated civilizations in the ancient world. The Insubiti or Egyptian pharaohs sought to expand their reach in various ways. So we're going to get into it because somebody asked a question. We're going to get into this right now. Here we go. All right, check this out. Now, the question comes from Big Brother Mo. How far did the kings rule outside the boundaries of Egypt? Shout out to Brother Mo. He went on and asked a question in the comments, and we're going to get into it. I had to go ahead and take a pause and answer a few questions. I'm very excited about this one. Let's go. All right. Now, Nubia. See, pharaohs often engaged in military campaigns, and so Nubia is unfortunately one of his primary targets. Started with the Middle Kingdom about 2055 to 1650 before Common Era. Egyptian pharaohs launched military campaigns to control Nubia. Them boys was not playing. The thing is, you can't come into somebody else's house and expect them to be cool with you eating their food. All right. And so pharaohs like Sesostris III built fortresses and established administrative centers to solidify Egypt's dominance. And during the New Kingdom, 1550 to 1070 before Common Era, Egypt fully annexed Nubia under rulers like Thutmose III and Amenhotep II. Now, Nubia adopted many Egyptian customs, even though I totally disagree with a lot of the people that say that they adopted as if they were copying Kemet, but that's what they're saying. Um, they adopted Egyptians' religions, customs, norms, architecture, and even the Nubian kings later ruled Egypt in the 25th dynasty and also be referred as the Kushite dynasty. Now, notice on the map, there were a lot of zones that Kemet decided to engage Nubia. Okay, the Napata area and the Meroe area. Okay, these were choke points and points of interest, because if you maintain control of the Nile River, you basically control economic power. So in order for you to be king of the North and South, you had to maintain order in the southern area. All right. Now, but we will soon learn that Nubia and Kush were separate nations. Stay tuned for that. Okay, because we always would lump in Nubia and Kush together as if they were the same group of people. I'm learning over the last few weeks, they're not. They're a different group of people. Stay tuned. Let's go. Levant. Egyptian pharaohs also extended their influence into the Levant or the Canaan area. Okay, the Canaan area. The region was strategically important for trade and served as a buffer against Near Eastern powers. So um, Egypt had to control Canaan. Now, this is before um, Palestine and many others, but before, say, they became a world power. All right. So this is, as you notice, they went all the way up into the east, all the way up into Kadesh. All right. So Egypt's influence and power, they ran east and western lands. All right. The New Kingdom pharaohs, of course, my boy Thutmose III conducted several military campaigns in Canaan and Syria. And Thutmose III, famous Battle of Megiddo in 1457 before Common Era, resulted in a decisive victory that established Egyptian hegemony in the region. So, yeah, they they expanded their borders all the way up east, all the way up the Mediterranean. Couldn't nobody fade them. But if you want me to further discuss these battles, comment below, because I don't mind taking a side quest and having a discussion on some of these battles. They weren't just hotep; they threw hands. Okay, they had to pop out and show them. They had to let people know that yes, we are peaceful over here, But understand, we want power as well. All right? So let's get it. My boy, Thutmose III, why did he do it? Why did he decide to flex like this? I'm gonna tell you why. Here's the reason why. All right, y'all can agree to disagree. Let me know. But he was coming under the shadow of his stepmother Hatshepsut. He had to really come out blazing. He had to come out on fire. So he had to establish his rule as an authority as the new king of Egypt. Okay, so he had to stretch. He had to let people know Egypt is not who you need to be playing with. Play with your mama, but don't play with us, right? So Megiddo was a strategic location. Okay, check out Don's Maps. Don's Maps is pretty good. Shout out to him. Megiddo is a strategic location. About this time, Megiddo was strongly fortified. It had forts. It had military. It had military barracks, and it was very fortified. Its defenses consist of a massive brick walls enclosing the area, roughly oval in shape. So it was already a built-in fortress there. Okay, so it was a nice location. So if they wanted to have an expedition, if they needed to have a group of people go out there, that was a nice spot to stop at. Next thing, commercially important. Okay, it was a major trade route. Okay, and so a lot of groups and people would come through there, and they still have to pay taxes or tolls to that area. Whoever owned that choke point, they could tell them this is how much money you need to pay. Okay, so Megiddo was a strategic location because of its forts and because of money, right? So let's continue. Now, the Battle of Kadesh. Okay, the Battle of Kadesh. You know, I had to, I got to yield to Thutmose III, but Ramses II, he was that dude too. So later pharaohs like Ramses II fought against the Hittites in the famous Battle of Kadesh, 1274 before our Common Era in Syria, which resulted in one of the earliest known peace treaties in history. According to record, they say it was a stalemate. I don't know. I don't know, right? Now, this was a physical and spiritual battle for Ramses II. This battle proved his right to rule as insubordinate. He needed this. Yes, Seti I said this man is going to be king, but he had to prove to the world that he is that person. He had to prove. So what I mean by spiritual battle is, of course, if you check out this book, Sacred Science, it does talk about that duality that the king had to deal with. He had to deal with, and we all deal with that. We all deal with spiritual battles. We all have to deal with our ups and downs of life. So in the temple of Waset, it shows the physical battle on one side and the spiritual battle on the other. Check it out. All right, the link is in the description. But if you want me to discuss more about Kemetic battles, go ahead and comment below. Let's go. Now, Libya, or better known as Chagenu. All right, in the third dynasty, there was a Libyan revolt. As I mentioned in the other podcast, there was a Libyan revolt showing that Egypt held dominion beyond the Nile River. They expanded westward, but again, these kings don't like other kings to tell them what to do. Okay, so during the New Kingdom, Egypt's western borders were vulnerable to attacks by Libyan tribes. So Ramses III fought significant battles to repel Libyan invasions. So there was kings and kingdoms everywhere. Egypt was basically tucked in, and it was surrounded by other kingdoms. Okay, so later during the third intermediate period, Libyans played more direct role in Egyptian politics, with Libyan rulers becoming pharaohs themselves. So kings wanted this title for their own. Okay, rightfully so, right? All right, now let's go. Now here it is. Here's an example. Here's an example of the new kingdom right here, Thutmose III. And you see how the borders expanded all the way south into Nubia and all the way east, all the way up to Nineveh. Okay, so Egypt had its borders and it stretched. It wasn't just that small state there where Memphis is. It was as far south as Sudan and all the way east, all the way up to the other side of Israel. And here's the not the modern, but the new kingdom with Ramses II. It's very similar. It's almost similar. So, but you have to understand that their borders, when these guys said they're the king of the north and south, they were the king of the north and south. All right. Now, diplomacy. They had to have some paperwork. There was some paperwork involved, even though we don't like paperwork. They had to do it, right? Now, the Amarna Letters. That's one of the most significant diplomatic letters that was written during this time. It's a collection of letters between the Akkadians and the people of Kemet. These letters reveal extensive communication between Amenhotep III as well as Akhenaten to the other Eastern kings. Remember, the borders expanded all the way up Canaan, right? So these letters cover topics like alliances, marriages. Now, speaking of marriages, this is what I heard. One of these letters dealt with an engagement or arranged marriage for Amenhotep III, between Amenhotep III and Nefertiti. All right. Yeah. So originally, Nefertiti was supposed to be, according to what I'm hearing, was supposed to be Amenhotep III, his wife. But he died as she made her way there. So Akhenaten had to marry her. So she was a foreigner, even though she was black, but she was not from Kemet and she was not from Nubia. This is what I'm hearing. All right, let me know. But so these letters showcased a role in Egypt's role in a complex international system. These people were not primitive. These people had a high culture. They was writing letters, basically communicating back and forth, and sometimes in their own language. Right? But now, I wonder, did those Amarna letters have a letter between Akhenaten's mother and him? Because when Akhenaten got married, he eventually moved to Amarna and left Waset, left the seat of power, and made his own house. Okay? We don't know. But now, the treaty with the Hittites, that's after the Battle of Kadesh. They say it was a stalemate, okay? But Ramses II negotiated a peace treaty with the Hittite king, Thutmose III. This treaty often considered the first known international peace agreement among African people, among people of the black race. Treaties have been written long before we was here, right? So they had diplomacy, right? They had power, but they also had the power of the pen, right? Now, economics. Yeah, with this power, with absolute power, there was some money, right? The Mediterranean trade, really quick, Egypt engaged in extensive trade across the Mediterranean, of course, into the Greco-Roman world. But also they traded further south. As these borders expand, they gotta fund this thing, right? So Neter, or God's land, as we talked about before, Hatshepsut did an expedition and was sent to Punt to acquire exotic goods, okay, including ebony, ivory, animal skins. There's so many reliefs and hieroglyphics on the Meta Nature in her mortuary temple in Del El Bahari. It depicts the wealth that was brought back from Somalia, or the land of Punt, or Neter, back up to Kemet. Okay, let's continue. Now, Pharaohs they expanded Egypt's wealth through the robust trade networks that extended far beyond its borders, of course. And they had gold. They got gold, grain, linen, papyrus, and luxury goods. But what did they get back? They got back, this is what they wanted: wood, cedar wood, incense, precious stones and materials from other regions. So they brought out gold and grain, but they they received cedar wood, incense, precious stones, and so on. That's trade was, they traded commodities, things that was valuable. All right. Next thing, Egypt conquest in Nubia was not only for military purposes, but of course for economic reasons. Nubia was a vital source of gold, new gold, right? Which made Egypt extraordinarily wealthy. The pharaohs built temples and infrastructure in Nubia to control the trade routes, and the region was a crucial part of Egypt's economy. Now, the reach, I'm gonna tell you this. Shout out to Mo for asking me that question. I enjoy these kind of things. But the reach of Egyptians, pharaohs, went far beyond the state of Egypt that we know of. Okay. It went all the way up east on the other side of Canaan, further south down to Nubia, and even westward, close to Libya, right? And so they had diplomacy, they had trade. They did have to fight, all right. But if you want to discuss any more battles or anything, let me know. But you just got to listen to King Cam Ujumbe Podcast. Shout out to the fam. Don't forget to like, comment, and all the things. But get ready, coming up, the Queens of the South, the ladies of the North and South. Yeah, I haven't forgot the ladies. We have a special one coming next semester. We're going to get into the Queens of the North and South, the ladies. All right, get this book. This is our next book, the first female pharaoh, Sebek Neferu, Goddess of the seven stars. The link is in the description. And I'm really happy to be here. You just got to listen to King Cam Ujumbe Podcast, and I will talk to you later.